Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Art of Delegation. My name is Kojo Awaji, and today we're going to be talking briefly about the art of delegation in terms of what it means to delegate, what that looks like, as well as providing you with a working document on how you can delegate, and we'll talk about it as well. So, in terms of delegation, what is delegation? We're kind of going to look at it in three kind of big picture points. The first being providing context through clear and understandable instructions, making sure things are understood clearly, making sure they're conveyed the right way, and as well as giving them those instructions to be successful. The next is establishing clear lines of authority and responsibility. Who's going to be in charge? What are your responsibilities? Deadlines, all these things clearly established. And then ultimately, we're achieving immediate practical results by providing support and following through with them. Yes, we're giving these tasks, we want these deadlines, but also we're giving that support that they may need, as well as following up with them throughout certain points that may be needed to be focused on. A perfect example of where things can be delegated in that kind of off track can come from is an officer who was just elected. You are elected, you have these kind of dreams, ambitions, these goals for yourself. And as the semester kind of goes on, you find yourself with your plate getting a little more full. Maybe you have schoolwork, family, things going on. All these things are kind of building up, and you find yourself unable to do everything you set out for, but also maybe there's just too much on your plate and you need the help. So what we're talking about is understanding that you will need to rely on your brothers for assistance or a mentor for assistance anytime. And it's not a bad thing. This is something that we need to start working on actively so we can create a more efficient environment for work, whether it's in our group, in our teams, whatever it may be. So when we talk about delegation, there's kind of these 7 barriers or obstacles when we talk about delegation. The first is not enough time. I don't have enough time to do this. I don't really know how to get it done. Understanding that not enough time, easiest, most common excuse we see, but we can push past that to delegate it to others. That way everything is still getting done. The second one is losing control. You have this timeline of stuff that you want to do. Maybe it is a little farther out than we would like to, but you don't want to lose control of that project or that task. So you're kind of holding on to that hope or that control of that task, understanding that if it's something that can be delegated and it's beneficial to let it be delegated, that we can go ahead and do that. Thirdly, we're going to be talking, not getting enough credit or not getting credit at all. If you assign a task and you delegate that task and someone does it really well, that's the credit that they're getting. You might feel jaded or slighted by this, but understanding that if we all succeed, you're still succeeding. You're having that trust, that confidence in your team member, you're giving them that credit, understanding that it's not a bad thing. You want to see them succeed. Next, losing tasks you enjoy. Maybe it is something that you're extremely passionate about. You just don't really have time, in your calendar to do it. This can be a bit of an obstacle because if it is something you truly care about, you don't want to let it go, but understanding that if my work can be more effective and if I can be more efficient in my work by letting this be delegated, then I need to do it. Next, you can do it better. Now, yes, I can delegate this, but I know the quality of that person's work and I know I can do a better job than them. I can shoot this out of the park. Understanding that we can still provide support while we're delegating, to get them to that better, good, better, best. And we don't have to just kind of sit on the sidelines and critique their work as it goes along. Next, delegating out of a job. The common misconception is, well, it's your job, why don't you just do it? But understanding that it's a team effort, and if you don't have the time to do it, something else is going on, or it's bigger than just one person, we have to delegate. We need that assistance and that support from others. And lastly, no confidence in your team members. This is a big one when it comes to trust, building that confidence with your team members to where you can assign a task and you can delegate it, knowing that it can be done, that can be done to a good standard, and that it will be done in an efficient time and manner. So let's take a look at this delegation action plan, what it looks like, how we can kind of provide context for it going forward in your everyday life. So when we start the delegation action plan, we're simply going to identify the item that needs to be completed. If I need to, plan initiation, boom, real simple and easy. What needs to be completed? Note that down. Next, determine when this item needs to be started and completed. If I need to start right now to have it completed by 2 months from now, make sure those dates are recognized, those numbers are put down. That way, when we're building it and we're working through it, we can see the progress we're making as well as how much time is still needed. Next, describe why this item should be delegated. If it's for you having too much on your plate right now, simply write that down. If you have school, homework, couple exams, midterms coming up, and your part-time job on the side, let that be known. Put that in writing so that when these delegation action plans are looked at as a group, we can understand the obstacles that might be in your way. Next, what barriers are there if you don't delegate it? So if you aren't delegating that task, how can these obstacles basically be bigger than they're supposed to be? If I don't delegate this, then I'm going to be behind in something else, which is going to cause me to be behind in something else. Kind of that pile up, understanding and putting it in writing, why it needs to be delegated or what can happen if it isn't delegated properly. Next, do you plan to delegate it to an individual or a committee? So if you're planning to do it to a committee, who's going to be in charge of that committee? Do we want to have a chairman who, at meetings is going to be the talking chair for when we're talking about this new task that is delegated? If we're giving it to an individual, helping them understand what's kind of required at meetings to be talked about and what can be left on the side or be talked about after. Next, we're going to brainstorm the expectations of either the individual or the committee that we're delegating it to. So asking yourself, what do I want to see happen or occur as a final result of this being delegated? Obviously we have our ideas of when we're doing a task, what we want it to be or what we want it to look like when it's done, but how do we convey that to others when we're delegating it? Next, we're going to describe how you ask for help and delegate this item. So this is a pretty difficult one because we kind of all interact and perceive conversation differently. So if you simply go up to someone and say, you're doing this task, that might not be received well enough rather than going up to them asking, hey, do you mind if we talk? I need a little assistance. I was wondering if you could help me out. So understanding and writing it down of how exactly you can ask for help from others so you can delegate it to them without making it seem like, one, that you just don't want to do it, but also two, that it needs to be done and you just don't have that time right now. Next, we're just going to brainstorm a list of members we can ask. So if you want to ask, one of your committee members, if they can take up that responsibility when you delegate it, write that down. If it's someone who you think might be a good future leader, write that down. But just simply understanding who might be best fit for me to ask when I delegate this task. And as we're running through this list, now we have compiled a delegation action plan. And that way, if we're talking about it at an exec meeting or a chapter meeting, we can run through these items. You can, share it with everybody. So everyone's acknowledging what's going on. Everyone can see what's going on. And then those action steps are going to be a lot simpler than you kind of running through it in your head and then kind of answering questions on the fly. So if you have any questions, definitely reach out, talk to your chapter coach, or shoot anyone an email at headquarters staff. But other than that, thank you for your time. Have a good day.